Okay,
All right.
so here we are reviving the webcast again with Ursa for the first time, right?
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to finally talk in a non-pre-match, high-intensity situation.
So, Ursa, what are your expectations for how this podcast is going to go?
Well, having watched, I've been watching them do the pot. No, I've got a beer, so my expectations are to take it easy and shoot the shit with you two, and have myself a Have-Nosh IPA from Unita Brewing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Product placement.
I'm working towards sponsorship, so
okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
They are our sponsors, no, they're not, but that would be cool.
Unofficial sponsor to Maiden's podcast.
Yeah, seeking all the brewery sponsors that want to step up. We would take that in a heartbeat,
Oh,
I
yes.
think.
And we would do this much more often as a result.
Oh, that's good, right? Yeah.
You can pretty much guys do lots of stuff for beer. So.
Oh, they're from Utah. We need a New York sponsor next time.
Alma Gang, maybe, or Brooklyn Brewery, even like around the corner.
I really like Bronx Brewery, even though we're not in the Bronx, but I like their beers.
Oh, I've had beers from them.
They're good.
Yeah, it's good.
Nothing wrong. Coney Island Brewery, I feel like they're small enough that we could get them, and they have Mermaid Pilsner, so we could do a whole photo shoot, mermaid battle for them.
It's kind of surprising how many of our wrestlers are mermaid sympathizers. I know Kaya has some pretty great mermaid photo ops. Queen Beth, who just joined up, has a good mermaid suit. And unreleased, my most recent bondage wrestling video, I mermized one of our male wrestlers too. Mermized. Yeah. So there's more crossover than you would have thought.
Yeah. We joked about an Ursula versus Ariel match, right, on Twitter once.
Oh.
And I was like, Ursa's almost like Ursula, and I'm very voluptuous like she is. So if I can just get 4 more tentacles, and you got red hair, so you're clearly an Ariel. I don't know if the wrestling fan and Disney fan crossover market is very big, but interested in that.
That's we actually have a variety of Disney princess costumes. Not yet the Ariel one. We did one wrestling match. It was a cat ball with them. Cinderella versus Snow White. Battle it out over who is the fairest. But the princess dresses, we actually acquired them not from a wrestling shoot, but from a bondage shoot. So, tied up Disney princesses.
That's cute.
Definite thing. Further crossover, because a good way to make the mermaid effect is with the bondage too. 2 little feet tied together.
Yeah. It's a good look. Okay, I feel like we're really covering some ground here.
I think we're warming up to it. We haven't really yet broached any of our topics of the night, however. Yeah, so we were going to speak a little bit about being a new wrestler, new-ish, coming into the session and video world now. And it's cool because we have someone who is experiencing being sort of new to wrestling now, and 2 people that experienced this a while ago.
Yes.
And can refer to earlier experiences with a bit more perspective now.
Nice. Yeah, I'm an expert at inexperiencedness. It's my specialty right now, for a limited time only.
It's true. It's a fleeting period in one's wrestle career. How are you finding entering the wrestle scene, Ursa?
That's such a large question.
We can break it down.
Yeah, can we break it down?
So how did it come to pass that you got involved with this anyway?
Right. Well, yeah, it's been a slow approach for me. I joke that I'm very, very cautious about doing things, and then I jump in 100%. So with wrestling, I went to a beginner workshop a couple of years ago at least, maybe 2.5. And before that, I had a boyfriend who was a wrestler, and we would tussle around a lot, which was really fun. But also, I got really annoyed that I couldn't really match him at all, which was somewhat fun, but also at a point I was like, I'm tired of this. So I went to a beginner workshop that y'all were having, and it was crazy to me. It was crazy. Like, I grew up, as like a theater kid, as a musician, right, but not as a swimmer, right, which is like the least contact of all sports. Like, you're not even in contact with the ground, right? You're in the water. Anyhow, so it was just crazy, like, touching people in new ways and having my weight be an advantage, where in a lot of other sports and in life, like, you try to, as a woman, you, like, try to make your body smaller, take up less space, not overwhelm people. So being in wrestling, and especially this kind of wrestling, is a total flip of the script where that's concerned, and that's been pretty fun.
Cool. Were you like nervous about it at first, like going from the beginner workshop, jumping into videos and kind of having a public persona?
Yeah, totally. I was terrified. I mean, just like going to the first workshop was kind of terrifying. And then I was like, oh, these people are nice. I don't know about this wrestling thing, but I like the people. And then I kind of, slowly came back once in a while for over a year. And then the video making I was nervous about, but even more than that, once I started practicing and then I had my first competitive match, and then that was like maybe the most nervous I've been so far. And it was against, it was in the live event last fall with Carrie. That was like the one I was.
That was your first one?
Well, first, I think I fought Aqua X before that.
Mm-hmm.
But she's very small and inexperienced, so it was like, this will probably be okay. And it was still a hard match. But then I'd been training a bit, and I was going to be fighting Carrie. And at that point, I felt like I actually had some skin in the game, because I was like, I know a couple things. Like, if I lose this, then that'll be terrible. And it's 2 8 or 10 minute rounds. I think it was 8 that day, and I was like, oh, that's really long, and it's live, so there was that added pressure.
Yeah,
so I was
audience.
Super nervous for that.
So that's like how you felt going into the Aqua match versus the Carrie match, but then doing the Aqua match versus the Carrie match. How did that compare?
The Aqua match, she was very squirmy and energetic, and I had to keep moving the whole time, and I learned a lot. Like, I think we both learned a lot during the match, which I see happening in other beginning wrestlers. Somebody else tries a thing, and you're like, oh, that worked for them, and so you try it on them, or like you're getting somewhere with one thing and then they adjust. So I feel like I learned a lot, but had to like keep the momentum up. By the time I wrestled Carrie, she had already wrestled Sweetie Dreams, I think, and maybe someone else also, and she was pretty beat. So I went in like really, really nervous, and then as we got going, I was like, oh, she's a lot lower energy at this point. So how do I navigate that? She was like doing a lot of turtle defense, which I had never seen before, and I was like, and she's like, she's like 280 pounds maybe. So to break down that kind of turtle, I was just kind of like hanging on her, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. But trying to work what I've learned without like, I don't know, I don't like to completely, she's a visitor, she's visiting. I didn't want to like make it horrible for her, if that makes sense. So it was they were different matches for sure. I don't know, how about you guys? Do you remember? Do you even remember? It was so many years ago.
I wore a mask for the first couple years. That's how nervous I was about doing videos, so.
The first video match that I did was against Veronica Vicious, who was a founding member of like the original Doom Maidens back in the day.
Oh, I remember the shoot.
Oh yeah, because when we first started out, doing videos was something that Hans had to kind of be our consultant about, because we hadn't quite learned how to do that for ourselves yet. So yeah, Hans was the cameraman of the hour, and we didn't have a format. We were just like going to try this for the first time ever, and we went, I think, for like 30 minutes straight, or maybe there was like a short break, but I know that was exhausting. It was wild, because Veronica and I were both really new to wrestling at the time, and something that I think people often only learn later is conserving energy at all. So that was like 100% full tilt the whole time, just like murderous. And I think it was probably a really exciting match looking back, but it's also one that I'm really glad has sort of mostly disappeared from the internet, because one of the things I also hadn't really learned yet in my novicedom was that I wore this like awful tank top thing, and I had like
tie-dye.
Yeah, it's like tie-dye tank top, and I had like an awful haircut. I had my hair like buzzed down.
You can still find it.
Yeah, no, I know. We're not going to talk about exactly where and how, and it's not the first like Google result for VeVe Lane, thank God. It was very learning experience.
Had you been like training PJJ or any sort of wrestling before that?
That was before I started training formally at an academy at all, but when we were just first founding Doom Maidens, we were doing our own practice sessions. So there were a couple people that knew a little bit more than, say, I did, or than Veronica did. So we were showing up for these little, like, get-together self-training.
Kind of like skill shares.
Yeah, where, like, one guy and another one of our very original wrestlers both had a little more experience. The one guy who was sort of a fan and like a catalyst in getting things started, had trained BJJ and would like share techniques. So yes, we knew just that much, a little bit,
just enough to be dangerous to each other.
I think maybe knowing almost anything can help be a little less dangerous. I know the first couple times I wrestled, I did jump in with zero training whatsoever. And one of the first things I thought was I should start learning stuff to be less dangerous.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's funny how just a little bit of knowledge takes you a long way. My first competitive match was with Sweetie Dreams, and I had no idea what I was in for.
Oh, I remember. That was shocking to you, right?
It was shocking to me because I had wrestled her before in practice, and wrestled other people where they were very kindly calibrating their skill level to mine. And so I was like, wait, but it's a video. Wait, you actually use all your skill in it? Oh, I thought it was like gonna be acting and stuff. I mean, just a little bit. So I didn't know how much I didn't know. She got me with like so many smothers because I was just like, oh my god, I can't breathe, rather than like, I shall turn my head now and be able to breathe. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great thing about, doing matches. You learn what you need to work on. But that's a great thing about when you're new. Like, you can learn something every day that's super helpful, whereas when you've been doing it for a long time, it takes so much more investment to make small improvements.
Yeah.
Whereas when you know nothing, everything is a giant improvement.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a fun time.
Yeah.
You really see advancement, like, quickly.
Yeah, it's true. At first, like, you're just improving, like leaps and bounds, and then, like, it gets to a point where it's like you really have to study.
Yeah.
Well, Hanz, we
and then you're also
continually-
just improving incrementally at that point too. Like, right? It's like the
I still
It's
got
like the graph.
plenty to learn.
And yeah, well, we continually tease you that you neither train nor ever change anything.
I don't.
So
Yeah.
I mean, you get better at like the two things
The
you
two
do.
things. Yep.
But yeah, Hanz,
Scissors and arm triangles.
you're like you're the same wrestler every time. You're
But they work.
you just rely on everyone else to change.
I'm like the video game player who like plays the fighting game and just hits B all the time, and it's just like a constant low kick. And the other person gets this, like, why don't you do any real moves? It's like, well, why don't you stop the low kick first?
Oh, there's a no, that wasn't UFC. Actually, it was like some special exhibition match they set up between Henzo Gracie and Matt Hughes. And it was like, it was the cheapest looking thing.
Yeah.
Where Matt Hughes just low kicked the entire fight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and everyone had really high expectations for that match. Like all these two legends going at it, and like they didn't even wrestle. They didn't even grapple. They just low kicked until the thing was like, Hanz, watch out.
Yes.
So Hanz, did you start? So you started masked.
I
Yes.
did, yeah. That was the only way I could kind of like convince myself to do videos and to like put them out there. And since then, I've actually gone and like taken most of those down in a way, because I just, after a while, I didn't like the way the mask looked, and I was like, you know, like as a fan as well of like videos, like mixed videos, I always like the mixed videos where you can see both people's faces, because you can kind of like see the emotion of the match and stuff like that, and the mask was kind of like taking away from that. So
Yeah, I've also heard people say that if the man is masked and he's beaten, then like he has no skin in the game, right? Like you can't be properly humiliated.
it's true, yeah.
If you're
got
masked.
this weight, you've got this, you know, this shield to hide behind.
Right.
You know, you're not just like, you know, out there. So, but yeah, finally, you know, decided to do one without the mask. It was actually for you guys against Orlando.
That was the first one?
Yep. And yeah, and I remember being like really nervous about it. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna do like a non-masked one. And so we did the match, and then I saw it when it was done, watched it down. I was like, yes, this looks better. I like it better. I'm just gonna do this from now on. So yeah, but it's scary at first, a little bit.
Well, what was if you remember, like the tipping or trigger point thing that made you say, I'm gonna try this?
I think I just got to the point where I would like see, because I was doing videos for my own store at that point, and they all had the mask on, and I would watch them back, and I would be like, I would like this video better. Like, I like stuff about my early videos. It's like, but like the one thing I always would want to change is like, I wish I wasn't wearing the mask, and also it was hard to breathe in that thing. So,
Practicality.
and I would breathe loudly in that thing. It was just like kind of Darth Vader-ish. So, which was kind of like distracting as well. So, yeah, but I was just like, I'm gonna try it without the mask and see how it looks. So,
You've never gone back?
Nope.
Do you ever think you'd be making the kind of videos you've been making lately?
No, I didn't. So that's another whole step. Now that I've been doing some
completely
more
unmasked.
Completely unmasked. Yeah, that was actually less scary than taking the mask off the face. Believe it or not. Like doing the mixed erotic nude stuff. That was actually a less scary step than removing the mask originally.
I mean, there's nothing more you can do about like identity after you show the face.
I think that's why it was scary. Yeah. It's like the mask is like your face is out there. This is what everyone sees, and I don't know. Nudity didn't bother me as much as far as like being a scary step.
I feel the other way in that, like, for me, being fully clothed on camera. I'm like, all right, if my parents got a hold of this, like we'd have a talk and it'd be okay. But like more like the sexier nudity stuff, I'm like I would love to feel like I could do that, but there's so much stigma around it. I think especially for women. Not like there are plenty of women who do it and are amazing, but personally, like that feels like a scarier step for me than just doing regular sexy stuff with clothes.
Like you're always afraid like people are going to kind of like shame you for doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like but it really is. It can be like a very kind of like body positive thing. Like that's the way I think about it. Like just sort of growing up, like there was always like this like shame, you know, with like nudity or eroticism and stuff like that, and to kind of get to like just do it and like put it out there, it's kind of like freeing in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So just sort of be like, no, like this is a good thing, and I shouldn't, you know, have to be afraid, you know, that someone's gonna make me feel ashamed of it. Like they shouldn't be able to make me feel ashamed of it. So yeah. That's kind of how I thought about it for a long time. I was like, you know, do I really want to, you know, do this? It is kind of a big step. And once I kind of like came to that conclusion, it's like, no, it's like, you know, you grew up kind of feeling ashamed of this, so this is kind of like stepping away from that, which is nice.
Yeah, it can be empowering.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the stuff, just talking about body positivity, like a lot of this wrestling has been therapeutic for me in a way, you know, and that like I'm like, yeah, this is my body, and like it's not just super thin fit people who can show their bodies in bikinis. I can also, and
Yeah.
It's gonna be wonderful.
Totally.
And it's out there for the world, and that's how it is.
And you get to just sort of like be proud of it, you
Yeah.
know, like and just like
fully own it.
yeah.
Yeah, it can be good.
Yeah, you get, I mean, totally realistic assessment by doing of like what your body can do. And here's how everything feels, and here are my abilities, and here's me up against another person. And I think a lot of, you know, so many assumptions are out there. I mean, even just today, after I've been doing this for so many years, I went into a session and got, "You're pretty strong for a girl." You know, and just by doing, people find out
Have you seen my muscles, though? Have you seen them? Like, they're still muscles, even though I have tits. Like, it's crazy.
They work and they move and they do things. And, yeah, and by wrestling, you know, you get rid of some of those just assumptions. I can't do this. Of course, I can. I'm doing it right now.
Right.
Yeah?
Yeah, and I think that's something that you and Diablo have challenged me a lot on. I'm like, my body doesn't do that. And you're like, nah.
It probably does.
Just like, maybe keep trying. And then I'm like, oh, I can do it. I just took practice because my body's used to sitting at a desk and not squiggling under a human. Yeah. Also, it's like, it's so nice to get all of the positive reinforcement from fans.
Mm-hmm.
So many people being like, oh my god, like, you're so gorgeous. And I'm like, yes, I am. And people in the Midwest never appreciated me. You know, like, right? I'm like, I was wasted on everyone else, and now you're finally, like, I'm finally getting the recognition I feel like I've deserved all along. But it's so nice. It's so nice getting that.
It's like
So thank you.
So,
Yeah, I'm like, I know. But it's nice that you know too. Like really.
That's one thing. Yes, I always say when I have like a muscle worship fan or something, and I'll get a couple questions like, "Do you like being worshipped?" I'm like, well, yeah, of course. And and I so like your muscles, or I so like your body. I'm like, that's really nice because I do, and I put a lot of work into doing it. So it's nice to know other people, you know, like what I like about myself, you know, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I feel like in this work too, like it's sort of a reflection. I'm gonna get a little philosophical here. Stick with me, but I feel like, you know, there's a fan for everything. There's a fan for every body type. Like your fans might not be the same as my fans, but really, the more you are yourself, the more people like it. And it just like, I feel like that plays out in the real world too, in that you're like, well, if there's everyone who likes my body, maybe I don't need to like try to be so one way or another in the world, and I can just be myself and somebody will like that, you know? It's a nice little like playing out of that theory. Because I think everyone like that's, you know, people talk about like, oh, you know, just be yourself. Good old Hamlet, this above all, to thine own self be true. But it's nice in this work to actually see that play out. And the more you are yourself, the more you share of yourself, people are like, oh my God, you're amazing. And getting that immediate feedback, you're like, huh, yeah, all right.
Do you actually find like in doing this and kind of like the confidence that it kind of like builds, you find that like crossing over into your non-wrestling day-to-day life? Like,
yeah, I mean, I think it feeds back and forth, you know. I think me feeling confident and good about myself allowed me to do wrestling. Yeah. And I think the more I do it and the more feedback I get, that comes back and feeds the other. So I think it all kind of builds. And I think maybe some of it's just getting a little older now too. You know, I'm 26 now. That's not true, but everybody says they're 26, right? Like that's the magic age.
The mature among us say 28.
Oh, 28. Yeah. I'm 28 now.
I'm 21.
Lies.
We let Hans buy the beer so he'd feel like a big boy.
Yeah,
right.
now that he's 21.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah, but I do feel like it feeds back and forth, and it gives me confidence, and having more confidence gives me more like wrestling mojo. And
yeah, with the getting older too, I've told a few people that part of the thing that made me kind of like jump off and like, because I always like thought I wanted to do this and try this, but I was, you know, always hesitant and nervous. But like the thing that I always think to myself is when I get to the end of my life and let's say I'm like, you know, in my deathbed or whatever, and I'm just sort of like looking back on life knowing that it's, you know, coming to an end. My worst fear would be looking back on my life and being like, there are all these things I wanted to try and I never did it because I was too scared. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I would always think to myself, like, if I could be in that moment and say to myself, there are all these things I wanted to try and I tried them, and even though I was scared, I did it anyway. And at that point, I could just be like happy and just like look back on my life and be like, so this is the end, but like I had a wonderful time. So
yeah, no regrets.
Yeah. That was the faster way to say that. That was
great.
That
was a good story.
The process in the moment, the soul searching.
I feel like another thing that I've been learning, both we're getting real personal, but whatever, in my own life and in wrestling, is just to deal with discomfort, which I think in the U.S. in Western civilization, we're taught that like if something's uncomfortable, like you shy away from it, you don't do it. And just learning to be like, I'm being choked right now, or like in our match, I'm being body scissored right now,
yes.
really very hard.
Very cool.
And I could tap right now, or if I just chill out, like I could probably get out of this. So that's like that's a nice.
Resistant to my body scissors.
Yes, I'm so happy. I was injured from that match. And I was afraid it was from the body scissors, but it was just a muscle thing.
Oh, muscle pull.
But at first I was like, oh God, did I resist too much? But
yeah.
No, I just resisted appropriately.
I always try to put those things on like slow, you know, so that
I mean,
like rib stuff, so.
I'm not saying it was pleasant. When you put the video out and people buy it and you listen to the noises I was making, I think you'll be able to tell that it was not pleasant.
I remember some of those.
Oh my God. I was like, what are these noises coming out of me? They sound really sad and unhappy. Yeah.
Then afterwards, maybe some happy noises for escaping. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, so many people have fallen victim to your body scissors. And it's like, it's, you know, it's like kind of a cheap shot. Like, it's very effective, but like, it doesn't feel like it should be as good as it is, but it's very...
It's my version of a low kick.
Yeah. It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, well, I asked Hans before. I mean, we traveled all around the topic, but I did want to ask you, what was the thing where you went from you were coming to training sessions and, you know, hovering on the edges, what was the catalyst to jumping in? And
to doing the videos?
Yeah, doing videos, doing sessions.
I think it was actually the other way for me.
Oh, yeah.
I think that, like, I was attracted to the video work. I was I want to be a star. Put me on camera. And then I got thoroughly beaten, and I was like, I guess I'm going to have to do some work. If I don't want this to happen all the time. So the videos have kind of been a motivation for me to train more than the other way around. Yeah. Well, I guess, like, I had desire before, but I wasn't making it a priority. And having the videos as a thing that's like, oh, you have this thing coming up on this date, makes me more accountable to going to practices.
That is like good motivation when you know it's like, oh, I have a competitive match coming up. You know, at this date versus this person.
I don't want to look like a fool.
Yeah.
I don't want to submit to these body scissors, so I better learn how to get out of them. When is that coming out, by the way?
Actually, soon. I was putting it in for export today. Of course, I'm terrible about releasing videos sometimes, and I definitely get backlogged. But
I'm curious to see it.
Yeah, it'll be up very soon.
And VeVe wasn't around for it, so.
No,
She
I
wasn't.
was away on tour, so I heard a bit, but yeah.
I feel like for a novice, I executed myself pretty well.
You really did, actually. It was a tough match.
Yeah, you came out hard too.
Yeah.
He was feeling threatened. Clearly.
Apparently. Yeah. It was not just aggressive cuddling.
It's a little different from those rare times when I'm actually at practice. It's like it's a different sort of energy. So yeah.
Sorry, I steered the conversation away. The question is what was the motivation to start videoing from the?
Yeah, what made that tipping point where you're like, yeah, I'm gonna jump in.
I was just gonna turn the question back on you guys.
Oh yeah.
The tipping point. I've actually always been interested in fetish and sex work, to be honest, and it's something that always sounded fun to me. Mm-hmm. But I do have hang-ups, like anybody else, or anyone else with my upbringing, maybe. And so this seemed like a really fun and safe way to get into it. Yeah. So I don't know if there was like a moment.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I do remember, like, I was like, I don't know, tell me more. We had brunch.
Right, yeah.
We met for brunch, and at a very busy restaurant bar, we discussed fetish work. We're like,
sitting at the counter, like, right.
Yeah, it was the only... and I was like, okay, I really still don't understand this, but I'm not going to understand it unless I try it, so... it also, like, all of this wrestling stuff has definitely been a challenge for me, and I like challenges, and so it's like, this feels scary to me, and so I think I need to do it.
Cool.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Rising to the challenge.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's awesome.
Oh, I remember we talked about, I think when you were just getting started, about doing like competitive matches versus doing like domination or fantasy stuff. Mm-hmm. And this is something I'm still kind of going back and forth on, as like we often get new people wanting to get involved. Like, what's the best way to start people out? And like, and I imagine it does vary for different people. Like, oh, I'm super comfortable as a physical person, like jumping in, or I'm super comfortable as an actress or whatever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, how was that to you, being like, here's a competitive match, I'm going to fight somebody, or here's a scenario or a role, or here's somebody to dominate?
Yeah, so for me, knowing so little about wrestling when I started, I was like, I don't know how to dominate someone with wrestling. Like, I don't know what a submission is. Like, I don't know what looks convincing and what doesn't. So competitive was a better way for me to start, because then you just go and do what you can. And I was just like, I don't know, like, you know, if you're if you're dominating, you're more in charge. The focus is on you. You know, you have to know what you're doing a little bit and lead things. And I wasn't ready to do that in a wrestling context. So yeah, so competitive was the better way for me to enter until I knew a little bit more what I'm doing. And know, like, honestly, and know what bodies can take. After doing a little R&D, a little research and development.
It's like, oh, that's too hard.
Yeah.
That will break someone.
But yeah.
Yeah, I know when I started out, I thought that we and like Do Maidens was gonna be like, oh, really known for being super real and competitive all the time, and that was like one of those first conceptual organizing principles for us. But as soon as we started out doing that, and people start to see and notice even a little bit, you know, fans write in, suggestions come in, and it turns out that competitive is not the only thing people wanted. So it was a great way to start out and build a good foundation of moves and skills, and then I found that could get applied in so many ways.
So I feel like I'm kind of in a 180 now, and that I'm like, competitive, that sounds hard, and like you know, a little more nerve-wracking because you do have skin in the game and you have to prove yourself, or like, you know, take a bit of an ego bashing or physical bashing that goes with the ego bashing. And so yeah, like the more I know now, I'm like, yeah, let me dominate that person. That sounds great. And I really actually want to do more scenario, like customs, and with more plot and femme fatale and assassins, and like I want my fingers in that. That sounds so fun to me.
Cool.
Yeah. Anyone's listening, wants them, let me know.
Those requests roll in. Yeah, it's good. Like you kind of start out with like the base thing, like the one thing, and then like you slowly start branching out into other styles or other things. And it's always kind of fun to see like, you know, people's personalities kind of like develop that way too. It's like, you know, oh, it started with competitive wrestling, and then, you know, bondage wrestling, and then the next one pretty much. So and to the point where there's like an artwork of like me and you that somebody
fan art. Yeah, there's a wonderful fan art,
and it's really cool. It's like, wow, somebody like drew this and like made this picture of us from, you know, that they took from a video still from the end of one of our bondage wrestling matches.
Awesome.
And it's like, oh, it's like
fan art.
influencing people, you know. It's kind of like influencing other people's
or
creativity.
inspiring people even.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool to think about that. It's like the stuff that you do that goes out there and it inspires other people to create things of their own. So.
I've had a really interesting thing happen with people sending in custom video requests, and sometimes then we make the video and we'll, you know, if they agree it's okay, we'll put that out to the public, and other people will see that and send in like custom requests based on another person's request. And they'll almost get into a dialogue, like tweaking the scenario among multiple people.
Yeah,
which is
they don't know it, but they're part of the story and evolving. Oh, interesting.
And sometimes like the character, which is, I mean, me, but as different characters, created by one person, gets put into someone else's thing. Same costume, or this story, this character persona situation. Now it's going to morph again over here. Which is pretty neat. And I don't think any of the guys have actually realized necessarily, but I'm pretty sure that a few of them, if they ever met up or connected somehow, could like write wonderful collaborative fiction together or something. Like I think they could really like pinball ideas back and forth with each other. It would be kind of awesome.
Yeah, man, I have so many ideas. If I had like a cameraman and a co-star just like at the ready, man, you would see some crazy stuff, world. I got ideas for days.
That could probably be arranged.
I mean, I think we kind of got that. You might get put on the spot here.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's some
Right now.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Yeah.
Ideas.
I have lots of ideas.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
You should make some of them and put them out there. See what comes back. You know.
Yeah. I'm always curious how things will be received too.
Right.
Yeah.
Always, yeah.
You
What
could
people like.
you could find out that people might like, start feedbacking in a way. You could just put out one kernel and see what.
Oh, do you know, so this would take more people, but on the train on the way here, do you want to hear my idea?
Sure.
Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, we need a sample.
Okay, so this was a silly one that I would call Ursa and the Three Chairs.
Ursa-Locks.
Right? In which I would be a Goldilocks character and try 3 different men's faces to sit on to find the one that's just right. Right?
Wow.
It'd be so cute, right? These are the kinds of things I think of on the train.
That'd be fun.
Right? It would be so
That would be
cute.
great.
One
So-
would be too pointy, maybe. One would be too flat.
This
One
one
would
is
be just
just
right,
right,
and I would
yeah.
spend the most time there until maybe I broke it. I don't know.
Yeah, you'd have to go back to chair
Broke
number
their
2.
face.
One until I broke it. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I've met at least one person who was able to take like heavy butt drops on the face,
Wow.
and I am
I don't think that would
shocked. That is no state in fact.
Yeah, like-
I couldn't
That's what I'd be
believe
afraid
it.
of, so.
I'm still shocked.
Nice.
But yeah.
We need to get that guy in here.
Well, actually, let's see. So, play obey. A little shout out. And the scenario would be that I would like play video games while face sitting. You just like set somebody down, set the slave down, like right, like smother or whatever, and if he moves or breathes and like makes you miss your jump when your your Mario dies,
And you
or whatever.
punish.
And you punish with more smothering and like various butt drops.
We talked about
Yeah.
having a very proper tea party, but having faces to sit on instead of chairs.
I really want to do that. I
It'd
want
be
to.
so cute.
I want to
have
do the
such
faces
cute tea
too.
dresses.
That
Yeah.
would be.
I
That would
want
be great.
that to happen. I want some mom dom stuff to happen.
Yes, we have that scenario still on the back burner here. The list gets too long, too fast.
I'm also I've been seeing other people doing some giantess stuff and some remote controlling stuff, the mesmerizing sort of things, and that stuff looks really fun.
And some of that you can do without any camera person.
Exactly.
That's a good little POV tripod thing.
Yeah.
Shit.
I actually did see the mesmerizing in a recent shoot with Constance where it's like a watch, and if someone puts on the watch they're frozen in time, and then she kind of repositions them. And Tara Tide was the person who got frozen. She was really good at just being frozen. And it was wow, this is very interesting to watch. So, yeah.
Who did I see? I want to get them Callie Logan, Miss Callie Logan. She has a lot of free stuff on her site, and she posted both a giantess and mesmerizing, and I'm like, oh, I see how that goes. I like that. Yeah, she seems cool. Has she been here? I bet she's been here.
Mm-hmm. We filmed with Callie one time, which is almost tragic that that's the only time we filmed with her, and living relatively near each other for years and
Is she
years.
in Jersey?
She's in Jersey, which various Jersey models have reminded me is not that far away, really.
And yet
But-
somehow it seems like it's the other side of the world.
I mean, and I think
Yeah.
it depends too, because Callie films herself,
Yeah.
and then so her schedule is kind of whoa!
Yeah, it looks like
which-
Amazon Annie just did a lift and carry with
Yeah.
her.
But no, so yeah, she was fantastic when we did have her here. We filmed Poison Ivy ties up Girl Robin.
Yeah.
That was a bondage wrestling that was really cute. We did an agent duel, which is our black pantyhose,
Yeah.
sensual something leggy wrestling.
Sensual spy.
Yeah, spy dueling. Yeah, so we did meet Callie, but it has been too long. Yeah.
She seems cool. Kelly, come back.
Yeah.
Kelly, come back.
I haven't met her yet. She seems cool though.
No, never. Yeah, she's fun.
Also, free content on our site, so if you're listening, you should go check it out. I don't know what it is, but she inspired me, so she could inspire you.
Alright, so I'll have to tick off a few of these list items.
Yeah, also speaking of, I don't know if you said Robin, but we had the idea where we are fighting over Robin, like somebody steals him away from Batman and then has to break him in or something. I don't remember. I feel like we had that idea at the spa, so it's kind of fuzzy in a spa way. That was so good.
The boy wonder captive.
Right. Oh, we were going to have to do one where we have Batman and Robin, and we sort of make Batman battle to rescue Robin, but of course he'll fail, and they're both
Robin's been converted.
Yeah.
It's kind of a cool scenario.
Writing these things. Yes.
Give me my Robin back.
Exactly.
Stop that.
And then he's all
Don't defeat me.
he's all Patty Hearst in the situation.
Just give yourself up now. They're too powerful. Yeah, wonderful.
Do we have any Twitter questions?
Well, I know we have the question as to whether you've done any arm wrestling.
I've done some arm wrestling. Lana Luxor and I did a 5-minute arm wrestling video. And friend, she is so effing strong. She's got built arms. It was
Lana, yeah.
Yeah, Lana. Yeah, it was a battle. Yeah, so I did some arm wrestling with her. I feel like I had a double session with Sweetie and a very large man. And I don't think we did arm wrestling, but we did we tried to hang off of his arms, which was fun, and double bear hug him. So I've done a lot more bear hugs as far as feats of strength go. Been really doing a lot of bear hugging, which is fun. Hanz and I have a unnamed date for a bear hug off.
We do, yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta definitely do that.
Yeah. Less arm wrestling, though. I'm curious now that I've been training a little more. How strong I am. I don't know.
Well, you got some power there.
I got some power.
Yeah. That's cool.
You shot with Amazon Annie, who's a bit of an arm wrestling champ. But
Yeah.
You didn't take her on.
Yeah, I did a lift and carry with her.
Oh,
She
geez.
lifted me, which was so fun. And impressive. At first, she was going to do it in these... She was dressed, I think, as either Superwoman or Wonder Woman, and she had 4-inch heels. And I was like, I can't get up there. You are too tall now. So she took them
Have you
off.
been in that room that she has with the
We did
circular
it here.
porthole? Have you seen this on her
I've
Twitter?
seen
It's
the
an
pictures.
amazing looking room.
Is it? At
Yeah.
her
that
place?
hotel?
It's
I
like a
thought it was
hotel, but it's like a
hotel.
circular porthole with a
That
window.
looks really cool.
And
Yeah.
it just looks like this it's not sort of 1950s future. If
It
they
looks
made the future in
amazing.
the 1950s, it would have a round porthole.
I filmed when I think it's the same place. It's this neat art hotel in Manhattan, and she had it for a day to shoot with me and Minnie Muffins. And it was great because Minnie Muffin is very, very, very small, maybe 4 foot tall. And so she's super easy for everyone to just pick up and put places. So this room had these portholes, even some that were very high, that you could sort of
Just set her up on
lift
the
Minnie
sill.
Muffin in there, and we
Perch her on
got
that.
such cute photos out of
Aw.
here's one person in the lower porthole, here's Minnie in the
So cute.
ceiling level porthole. Yeah, that place was great.
Yeah, it looks like there were some great photos that came out of that.
Yeah, Annie is great at
She's
finding
really good at
locations.
photos. So.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
looking at some of her, she does a lot of really cool staged, sort of recreation-y. Yeah, maybe it was older, but I was looking at some of her stuff.
Yeah.
Look cool.
Cool. Well, did you find any other Twitter questions?
I
should-
don't think so.
Let's see.
Let's see. I don't know. Looks like Diablo's been tweeting about us.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Diablo.
I feel like I lose track of what is happening on Twitter and what conversations are where. And once I tweeted just craziness because it was in my pocket and I was putting it to the
It's hard to
trade.
have long conversations on Twitter because depending on if you reply to the original tweet or if you reply to the one that came under, like the conversations can have all these branches and you kind of have to piece them together sometimes.
Yeah. I think we solicited questions in a few different places too.
Right, I can only really check my.
So apologies if we miss anybody.
Okay.
You can always find me on the Do Maiden site and email me questions. I suppose on purpose, and maybe we'll talk about them on a subsequent podcast. Cast.
We should.
Podcast cast. Yeah.
Okay, so people have been a bit reticent with questions. Do we want to cover any other topics?
I don't know. I feel like we've covered a lot of ground, and if we were gonna start something new, it'd be like another hour. And I don't know if I can do that tonight.
All right. So, very good. Well, we've discussed your entry onto the wrestling scene, and tonight the entry onto the podcast as well.
Jazz fingers.
All right.
Jazz hands. Thank you. It has been, everyone I've worked with has been so nice that it's been really nice, like, coming into this very accepting, warm, encouraging, and lovely environment. So, thank you all.
Awesome.
Except for
Blushing.
Hans. Just kidding.
Right, yes, because it's our job. It's our job to hate on Hans.
I do.
It is our job.
I do get a lot of smack talk.
It's not a done thing.
It's not all
that I
from
don't
Lana
like
either.
No, it's not all from Lana.
We can't let her.
But
just
she
do
is
it.
relentless.
It's a mind game.
It is a mind
You're gonna
game.
get worn down
Yeah.
eventually.
We'll see.
Yeah, I heard that you have to do more squats now if you're, so that something about Queen Beth and her lots and lots of squats.
Yes, lots of squats because she's doing squats too, and she sends me videos of it. And it's like, okay, I better go to the gym today. Otherwise, I'm gonna get my ass
Good
kicked.
motivation. Talk about motivation.
So, yep.
Yeah, I heard she sent you some intimidation photos from her
Oh,
matches on Monday too.
She did, yeah.
Hilarious.
She sent me a video of like her posing in front of the final score with a question mark over half of it. It's like, should I tell you the result? And then I'm like, but I could see how many submissions that she got, and I was like, you got that many submissions? And then she sent me a photo with like the actual score, and kind of like as a a calling out that I better watch myself, I guess. So,
Yeah. I watched that match.
that's fun.
I'll watch that match.
Oh yes, you were there ringside.
Oh yeah, but I was saying I would match Queen Beth v. Hanz. That would be a fun match, maybe.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That will definitely happen.
But dude, yeah, the Monday matches. Whew. I was tired after it, and I didn't even wrestle. Like,
Indeed.
I saw that tweet. That was an
it
appropriate.
was true. I went home and I was like, I need a nap. Holy, yeah. All right, but I could talk all day. Maybe tie a ribbon around this.
All right. Well, thank you both. Oh, for joining us in our new Wrestle Studio too. This has been a little bit of a
That's another thing to talk about at some point.
Yeah. Well, here we're just showing it off.
Yep.
I was leery at first about the pink and purple mats. I didn't think that they were very serious, but I think
I take them seriously.
there's maybe nothing more serious than matting out an entire freaking room, floor and walls. So
Yeah.
I think it turned into a pretty good Doom Center.
I love it. I love
Doom
it.
Center.
It makes me feel like it's when I was 10 years old, this would be my fantasy of being pink and purple. But it's also super serious, which is, that's perfect. Fantasies and serious wrestling. That's what we do.
There you go. That sums it up. That sums it up. Yes. Words of wisdom from Ursa. All right, we are going to sign off and bid you all good night. And we've had a very good night ourselves, too.
Totally.
Hope you've enjoyed.
Thanks for tuning in.